Hostile infrastructure is a term usually used to describe design features that were intentionally engineered into public spaces to deter certain activities and movements. Examples include those metal tabs used to stop people from skateboarding, or unnecessary amounts of armrests on bus benches to prevent people from sleeping on them. While we are going to look at some of these on this list, my intent is to use the term more broadly to include aspects that were either intentional or unintentional, looking from the perspective of a user of public spaces, and identifying those parts that make them either inconvenient, uncomfortable, awkward, or otherwise unpleasant to the actual user. So let's get into it. Number 10. Bathrooms that talk to you and play music.
Door locked. Your maximum use time is 10 minutes.
I'm ranking this one rather low because I realized that the low-tech alternative would probably make me feel even more uncomfortable. That is, if they were to use human bathroom attendants instead. You know, the kind that they have in basements of inner-city bars. The ones that stand by the sink helping you turn on the faucet, put soap on your hands, give you towels, offer you breath mints. I know this is a normal thing in many parts of the country, but the first time I experienced this on a trip to Chicago, I was just creeped out. So having an automated bathroom, like the ones in El Monte Station or Montclair Trend Center, is, I guess, more introvert-friendly. Moving on. Speaking of El Monte Station, number 9 is El Monte Station. Not so much the station itself, but more concerning the ambiguous naming of it. For those unacquainted with the area, you might think this is where the Metrolink train stops at in El Monte. Wrong! There are more than one station in the city. The one plainly named El Monte Station is the bus station, and the El Monte Metrolink station is all the way on the other side of downtown. This almost caused me to miss my train the first time I ever tried boarding there, as I took the bus to El Monte Station thinking that's where it boarded. And if it weren't for a helpful metro driver who noticed my confusion as I was looking at the station diagram wondering where on earth the train tracks were, and promptly offering to drive me there, I don't think I would have made it. The station also gets bonus points for being situated right on a major bike trail, but being inconveniently accessible to it, requiring you to exit on the east side and go all the way around, when there's a gate right there! Yes, I know they don't want people walking in the path of traffic, but come on. Number 8. Bus benches that are too far away from the sign. Sometimes they just don't line up with each other, and I don't want to miss my bus for being in the wrong spot. What else can I say? Examples include Azusa and Amar on the northeast corner, and right outside the Santa Ana courthouse. Number 7 is the low-hanging fruit of freeway median transit stations. This is where the bus or the train line was built right down the middle of a loud freeway, oftentimes with no kind of sound barrier. Nobody likes spending time at these. The noise, the pollution, and how they're often inconvenient to get to from the surrounding neighborhood, all around an unpleasant experience. Some of these, like Harbor Gateway, which is in the middle of 2 freeways, have noise levels high enough to cause permanent hearing damage if you're there long enough. Not good. Maybe they should just build a big dome around these like the waffle-shaped ones in DC. Coming in at number 6 is the Shabaram Skyline Trail segment through the city of Industry. With this narrow undercrossing that requires you to bike through running water, occasionally being overgrown with vegetation, these annoying modal filter poles at the end of each street crossing, and entire segments that can be locked at one end for no apparent reason, or entirely blocked by tumbleweed. There are also 2 additional undercrossings that are currently closed, with no indication of ever being reopened, one of which even lies to you about already being reopened. I mean, I love this trail and I really want to love it more. And maybe one day I won't be the only person who uses it. Moving on. Number 5 is one of those intentionally hostile measures, and that is metro subway stations that play obnoxious music to discourage people from being homeless there. I mean, if they're gonna do that, they might as well commit to the bit and just blast this sound over the PA. Number 4. Public art installations that look like benches that you aren't allowed to sit on. The specific example being the Farm Laborers Monument at the Orange County Fairgrounds in Costa Mesa. I mean, doesn't this round cement thing just look like the perfect romantic place to have a seat, eat a peanut butter sandwich, film a music video, or make out with your significant other?
No.
And apparently the Fairgrounds have been having such a huge problem with people mistaking it as such that they actually put this plastic barricade next to it with instructions telling you not to go on it in any way, shape, or form. I personally was at the Orange County Fair years ago, and this whole area was filled up with picnic tables because it was in the middle of a food court. And as it happened, every single table was occupied. So I thought, oh well, I guess I'll just sit on this cool looking bench that nobody's using. And within 30 seconds, a security person came up to me and said that I can't sit there. At the time I was confused and a bit annoyed, but in hindsight it's actually kind of silly. Like, did they specifically assign a security person to stand there and tell people not to sit on this monument that I didn't even realize was a monument? I know it's supposed to be out of respect for the farm laborers, but wouldn't it have been more respectful not to design a monument that looks like a bench and then chastise people for wanting to sit on it?
No! No.
Number 3. The US-Mexico pedestrian border crossing between San Ysidro and Tijuana. This one probably has an entire book already written about it, but I'll be brief. Entering into Mexico, you have to go through this dimly lit room where you pass through a metal detector and stuff, and then you go through these massive turnstiles of doom. Then crossing into America, the hostility is mainly in how long the process takes, since the US Border Patrol is more tight about everything. Moving on to number 2 is inconvenient train station layouts. I'm lumping several into this one because otherwise it would have taken up half the list. Let's start with Moreno Valley. Nothing screams we didn't want to pay for an elevator like this gigantic switchback of an accessible ramp. Next, Pomona, where the Amtrak board's on the north side and Metrolink board's on the south side, yet for some reason there's an Amtrak sign on both sides. Where the pedestrian bridge and one side of the undercrossing have been temporarily permanently closed, probably to prevent their use as no-cost housing, and where the Amtrak platform seems to have no official entrances, and where neither platform has any benches of any kind. Anaheim Canyon, the station with 2 platforms and 2 ticket machines, but both are on the first platform, where the nearest grade crossing doubles as the pedestrian crossing, requiring an unusually long walk, and where the transit-oriented apartments on the west side are separated by a massive trench, forcing users to walk all the way around. And speaking of walking all the way around, lastly is Norwalk Sea Line Station, which is fenced off from every direction except the north, so if you want to walk there directly from the south, it's more than a mile away. I guess for a city called Norwalk, that makes a lot of sense, because you have to walk from the north. And the award for number 1 most hostile infrastructure in Southern California goes to the piano in the engineering building at Cal Poly Pomona. Building 9 is home to dozens of academic classrooms and labs of the engineering department at Cal Poly, but in the second floor lobby is a baby grand piano that is open for anyone to play. At least until someone comes marching out of a classroom and says, "Hey, can you stop playing right now? We're taking an exam." Oh, I see. You want it to be quiet. Then why is there a piano in a college engineering building? I'm sorry, but that experience was just so infuriating for me that I have no choice but to give it the title of number 1 most hostile piece of infrastructure in Southern California. Honorable mentions go to walking from LAX to basically anywhere. And I know this one isn't really a piece of infrastructure, but Foothill Transit's new, completely redesigned, easy to read, easy to carry bus book. Now with 95% less information, cause who needs to know when the bus is arriving at each of the scheduled time points? Just turn on your 4G and scan the QR code, you Luddites who still don't have unlimited data plans. I mean, they said I was going to like it.
Guess who's wrong?